Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the STEM Lockdown Digital School. This is Coding for Grade 7 and I'm your presenter, Mr. Paul de Klerk, and there is my email address. And I want to encourage you, if you have any questions or you want to share your code with me and your creations, what you make, please feel free to send that to me. I received the most beautiful picture from one of the grade 4s, and we're actually going to be using that now to invite more people to come and join us for coding. Also, if you have any friends that might be interested and that are in grade 7, they're never too far behind. It's very easy for them to catch up, so please ask them to come and join us as well. And then if you are new, I see a few new names here in the chat box. Also, I want to say welcome and I hope that you enjoy this lesson. So before we start with the lesson, just a few things that I want to touch on. Just some practical things to make it easier. Please try to keep your cameras switched off. If you do accidentally switch it on, we are going to switch it off for you. And if it happens often, then we're not going to see it as an accident anymore. Every time you switch on the camera, it blocks my screen and I unfortunately can't see what I have to teach you. Okay, and the next thing is the microphones stay off. I will unmute individual people if I need to, but for the most part we get to do everything through the chat box. So talking about the chat box, let's try and keep that concerned with the slide at hand or the lesson at hand, the puzzle at hand, so that we can ask questions and so that I can have a chance to respond to everyone's questions and not only a few of you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get going. So this week I have a few other coding principles, just some things that I picked up last week that I would like you guys to really start to make a part of your approach when you think about coding, where your mind should be when you are thinking about writing code. Okay, so the first one is we always start by solving the easiest problem first. Now this is very easy to see in these exercises. If we have a character and he has to move from one block to the next, that's obviously going to be the easiest problem. Okay, so we always start with the easiest problem first. Then we want to create a sequence and test it if you are unsure. Okay, alright, see there. So let's stop right there. I see a question in the chat box. Somebody is saying why. Okay, so the reason we want to start with the easiest problem first is if we are writing code and we create sequences. Now a sequence is what happens when we put a few blocks underneath each other. So if we start putting many blocks underneath each other and we test that code, it becomes more difficult to see where we went wrong. But if we solve the easiest problem first and we test the code every time as we are creating the solutions, it's easier to follow along and be sure that what we've done actually works. Okay, and that's the same thing here with the second statement that I'm making. Create a sequence and test it if you are unsure. And then when you know it will work, then you put it into a loop if needed. Now, if you don't know what a loop is yet, that's okay. You will pick it up very quickly. Okay, but the same principle applies here. If you create an entire sequence and maybe that sequence consists of 6 or 7 blocks of code, and now you put that into a loop and that loop is going to run that sequence 7 or 8 times. The moment you test it, it becomes very difficult for you to see in the play area where the mistake is or where the problem is, if there is a problem. Okay, so if we first put our sequence and we create this sequence, we test that, and once we know it works, we put everything in a loop afterwards. Then we know that if there are any problems, the problem has to lie with the loop or the repeat block and not necessarily in our sequence. Okay, so this is all a part of problem solving. A lot of coding that we do in our everyday lives, for those of us that work with code often, is to look for problems, and they call it to look for bugs or error. Okay, so this is one of those things that if we know that we create our code step by step, then it's easier for us to, when we one day have to start looking for bugs, find those bugs. Okay, the last one here is make sure that you are using the correct amount of loops. So for the easier and the beginning puzzles and lessons, if you made a repeat block loop 5 times, but it was only needed to loop 3 times, it wasn't a problem because the program would have stopped the loop from continuing once it has achieved its goal. But I have seen now, because I've gone ahead and I've done quite a few of these lessons in advance so that I'm prepared for the classes. And I saw that in the later stages, when the puzzles and lessons become a bit more difficult, if you make something loop more than it is supposed to, the code will keep running until the loops have run out. And that would then mean that your code is not going to work. Okay. So if any of this doesn't make sense yet, while I am presenting the lesson, I will touch on them again so that these can become a part of your foundation that you will learn coding on. Right, so today is lesson 11 and we are going to look at if-else blocks with B. Okay, and there is B, our friend, we've seen him before, and we're going to do puzzle 1 to 6. But before we get there, we haven't completed the Minecraft conditionals last week. So we only have 2 puzzles left there. So I want to see if we can fit all of them in. And if I'm going too fast, then you tell me and we make it stay over until tomorrow. I don't mind at all. Okay, so I'm just going to change my screen here onto the coding screen, which is there. Okay, and I'm moving the chat box across so that I can see what's happening. Okay. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box for you, and there it is. So if you click on this link now, or if you copy and paste the link into a web browser, you should see in front of your screen what I am seeing in front of my screen. Then you can follow along and you can solve the code on your side and I do it on my side, and that way we learn together. Okay, we did this one yesterday, so I just hit start over there. Okay, for those of you that are new, I just want to quickly run through this, but I'm going to do it really quickly so that we can get to the coding, okay? The first one is here at the top. It tells us which lesson we are on, and this is lesson 10, looking ahead with Minecraft, okay? Then we have these little bubbles here, and they tell us which puzzle we are on. Now, not all lessons have the same amount of puzzles. Some of them have more and some of them have less. So we are on puzzle 12. These are the instructions. Now, the instructions will tell us what we need to do, okay? This is the play area, and in the play area, we can see what we've coded. So what we code is going to happen in this area. Now, we can make this bigger or smaller if we need to. So I like to make mine a little bit bigger, especially so that you guys can see on the screen what's happening. Right, after that we have this blocks section. Now here are all the blocks that we can use. Some of them we've learned about, some of them maybe not, but that's okay. We'll discuss each one when we get to them. And then over here is our workspace. So whatever code we put in here will run, and we will see the effect here on the play area. The big catch is that it will only work if it is touching the when run block. Okay, and the when run block gets activated once we hit the run button. So if we hit the run button, click on it, then this activates and it will start running any sequence of code that we have under it. Now, some of our lessons, they are limited to the amount of blocks that we can use. Here in this lesson, we are allowed to use 14 blocks, okay? A good practice is to always try to keep your code as short as possible and still achieve the solution that you want. So there is already one block in this workspace, and that is the when run block. So all of the code will always have this when run block, otherwise we can put our code there and there's nothing to start it off. Right, so I think that was a very fast run through, but I think we can get going. So let's have a look here. I'm going to do this one because it's a review, and then from the next one I'm going to ask you to please help me out in the chat box, okay? So here we can see our character. His name is Steve and he's from the Minecraft world. Now for those of you that don't know, I do play Minecraft with my son, so I enjoy these lessons on Minecraft a lot. Now we can see here, now things are getting tricky. If we look at the instructions, mine 3 redstone, but don't fall in the lava. Use an if command to place cobblestone over any lava you uncover. Okay, so the idea is Steve is going to move forward, he's going to destroy the block. That's how you mine things in Minecraft. But we don't know if there's lava under this block or not. So if we tell our code to move forward and then destroy the block and move forward again, if there should be lava, he's going to fall into that lava and we will lose the challenge. So what we want to do is we want to use something that's going to tell him check first and do something if there is lava. Okay, so let's start off. Remember I said we start with the easiest problem first. So the easiest problem is we need to get Steve from where he is all the way to here. So that's going to be moving 1, 2 spaces forward. So we put that in here. Move and move. Okay. Now before he can move forward or do anything else, this block of redstone is in his way. So we need to destroy the block. And that will, in Minecraft language, then also mine the block so that he can get the redstone. Now, when this block is destroyed, before he moves, we want to do something. We want to check. And we do that using an if block. Okay. So, now we already have 4 blocks here, and I'm not sure if you all know what they mean. So I'm quickly going to run through each one. Move forward is very easy. It does what it says it does. These blue ones are usually an action block, okay? So what this will tell him is to move forward. Right. The destroy block, these are also action blocks, and they differ from challenge to challenge. When we were working with the bees earlier in nested loops with mazes, these blocks were get nectar or make honey. But for now, it is a destroy block because we're busy with Minecraft. So these ones, they tell this character here what he has to do. Okay. Now we have this new one. And this is if lava ahead, do something. Okay. So what this is telling the code to do is this character, once this block is broken, the redstone block is broken, he will check to see if there is lava. Okay. Let me just stop moving the mouse around. So I'm going to try and explain without moving my mouse around because I think that is disturbing our sound. Okay, so the if block is going to tell him once the redstone block has been broken to check if there is lava. If there is lava, we want him to do something. But if there is not lava, the code will automatically move past that block. Okay, so what we want to happen here is if there is lava, we want to place cobblestone. And that is going to eliminate the lava in that space and put a cobblestone block for him to move on. Okay. Now, we can test this before we even start putting things into loops. And this is what I referred to previously. We solve the easiest problems first. Then we start to make it more complicated. So if we hit run, we can see he's moving, he's mining, there is lava, so he placed that cobblestone block there. Okay. So are you all with me up to this stage? In the chat box, just type a yes if you understand how we got to where we are now. Okay, there's a yes. Another yes. Okay, I see some of my old students back and some new faces. Welcome, one and all. Okay, so now we have this done. Now we can see he is there and this block has been broken and cobblestone has been placed. So we need to make him turn. But before he turns, he needs to move forward again. Now, I want to show you something here. Okay. So he's moving forward, then he turns left. Right. So what happened is when I looked at this, I immediately saw a pattern. I saw that there are 2 spaces and then redstone here. And then if he was to turn left, there will be 2 spaces and redstone again. And then 2 spaces and redstone again. Okay? So what we have here is something that we can put into a loop, into a repeat block. Because we need to mine 3 redstones. Now it doesn't say which redstones we need to mine, so we can choose any. And one of the students yesterday, I can't remember who, I think it was Rita, she actually did it in less steps than we did. Okay, but I'm taking the longer way around because we have new students so that you can just see the code work. Okay, so what we do is we put a repeat block, and the repeat block needs to touch the when run block. Okay, and what the repeat block does is it puts everything inside it into a loop, meaning it will happen over and over again. So this is saying repeat 3 times whatever is inside. Okay, now we can put this entire piece of code inside, and this piece of code is what's called a sequence. Now, if we look here at the top, I said that there are 3 of these sides. So we are going to repeat it 3 times. Now let's run the code. Okay, there's lava, he's placing cobblestone, there we go, breaking. There is no lava, so he's skipping that if, again, there is no lava. Okay, so it happens a bit fast. I'm just going to do this. It happens a bit fast, and I cannot control the speed on these ones like I could with the snowflake ones. But if you have a look at this top corner here, and the corner where he is standing now, or it's not a corner, but it was a corner when the redstone block was there. There wasn't lava underneath that. So the code just skipped this part that says place cobblestone ahead. Okay, so it checks. If there is lava, it will do this. If there's no lava, it's just going to go past. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move on to the next puzzle, because we actually want to start going into the next lesson completely. I just want to see, there's a question how to show work. Okay, you don't have to show me your work in this. The main thing is for you to just make sure that your code looks like mine does and that it works on your side. If you have any questions later on, then you can take a screenshot on your device and send that to me on an email. Okay, so if you are perhaps further ahead than we are and you'd like some help, then you can do that. Okay, Terry, I hope that answers your questions. Okay, so now we're on to the next one here. So this is again looking ahead with Minecraft. So, great job. You've gathered lots of resources and built a modest home. Now lay rail from the edge of the map to the door of your house. Right. So, I'm just quickly, before we carry on, I tend to forget. There's the link again if anyone is new. You can just click on the link, it will open, and then you can follow along. So who wants to tell me, what do you think is the first block that we need to put here under when run? Some of the students that have done this before, or new students who wants to try. Okay. Aha, there's the answer that I want. Okay, so now I have 4 different answers. One says loop 2 times, one says place the rail, other one says turn, and the last one says repeat loop. So, in my opinion, I want to solve the easiest problem first. And the easiest problem is, he's going to need to turn to the right. That is the easiest problem, okay? To place is also an easy problem to solve, but we can see that he is going to place many times. But he's only going to turn right this one time when he starts. Okay. So that is why I start with the turn right. So go, good work. We have now used 2 blocks out of 9. So we have 7 blocks left. Okay. This becomes very tricky. What do you guys think is the next step? We have the turn right. What do you think we should do next? Oh, I had 4 answers for the previous question, now no one. You're all testing on your side, that's why. Place rail and move forward in a loop. Yes. Great. So now he is facing towards the tree here. I'm not going to move my mouse too much. There we go. So he's facing towards that tree. Okay? So, because he's turned right according to that blue block that we have there. So now we are going to put in a loop and we're going to tell him to move and place the rail. But we first need to know how many times. So let's count. So he's going to place a rail right where he's standing. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. We're going to put a repeat block in there and 7 times. Now, earlier I said, good job if you're done already. Earlier I said we need to first write the sequence and test it before we put it into a loop. But this sequence is very easy at this stage for us. Okay, it's not that difficult. So it's easy for us to just put it in here and go with it. Okay, so a few of you said that you're done and it seems like I have a new student there. So I'm just quickly putting this in here. If you are late, that's not a problem. Welcome to the lesson. If you missed anything, you can catch it all on the Africa Teen Geeks website. There you can link to the YouTube videos and you can catch up on any lessons that you might have not seen, okay, or any part of a lesson that you might have missed. Right, so back to this problem now. Let's run this code and see what happens. So there he is placing, but there's a problem there. He's moving too far. So what would you guys say? How do we fix this? I just put 7 in there because it was an easy number for me to choose. And it gives me a framework to start from. So what do you guys think? What should our next step be to fix this? Okay, Rita is saying to put a loop over everything, but we have a problem that we need to address before we do that. Okay, Gao says we need to make the loop go 6 times. Yes. Okay, now I want to draw your attention to something before we carry on. So there he's placing all of that. Now he moved forward there, but he didn't place a rail on that last pile of dirt. That's not a problem. If we loop all of this, remember in this small repeat we have here, which is going to become a nested loop, we have place rail first. So he's going to place the rail there the same way he did here. So for those that said put a loop over everything, let's do it that way. And then we have to repeat it how many times? The big loop, not the small one, the big one. How many times do you repeat that? Two times. Okay. And while I'm doing that and we're testing this, who can tell me, what do we call it when we have a loop inside a loop? I've used that word a couple of times now, but I want to know from you. What do we call it when we put a loop inside a loop? A nest. Yes, it is a nested loop. Great, you guys are learning very, very well. Okay, and there we can see. And there he is going in his minecart. And we did it in 6 blocks, but we were given 9. Okay. Can I move on? I want to get to the next lesson, but I don't want to go too far. So you need to tell me in the chat. Yes, I have 1 yes. Another yes. 1 more yes. Oh, there's 3. Okay, cool. I'm going to move on to the last challenge or the last puzzle. I think it is a challenge. Let's just see. Okay, we don't play the videos here. If you want to do this by yourself, then you can watch the video. Okay. This one is actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in there. With this puzzle, this is a challenge puzzle, if you want to call it that. There's no limit in the workspace as to what you can do. None at all. So what they're saying is, congratulations, you've completed all your puzzles. Now mine, build and create something unique by using everything you've learned so far. So I just want to show you something quickly here. If I do this, move, let's put this in a repeat. Come on, that touches there, this touches here. And I don't want to go too far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put it 5 times. Look at that. This map is vast. There's a lot that you can do on this map. You can go up and you can start mining. You can build some things to cross that water there. You can build a house in that opening there. You can chop down all the trees. You can go and shear the sheep, all of that. So for us to do this in this class setting is not going to work. There's no way. So what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to just create a small square, okay, so that you can see how we did that earlier, and then I'm going to move on. But for this one there are no right or wrong answers. This one is purely for you to come and play. And please do, and do it without being afraid. You cannot break this system. I saw online these kids are making amazing things. So you can do all of that if you'd want to. Okay, so what we want to do is, what I think I'm going to do is I want to get him into position first. And I'm going to bring him down 1 block. So I want him to turn left 2 times and then move forward. So now he's going to stand here, okay? Then I want him to start placing some things, but he's looking this way, facing down now. So we need to make him turn back right. And now we can start creating a sort of a loop for him to work in. So what we want to start with is perhaps, let me see, place bedrock ahead. We can actually place the bedrock under him. Now this doesn't have to be bedrock. This can be any one of these things. Look at that. Brick, cobblestone, dirt, coarse, farmland, iron ore, wool. Do you understand why I said we can't really do this in a class setting? Okay, so that is going into a loop. So let me just see. So I am reading the code to try and figure out. But an easier way is let's just run the code. Then we can see exactly where we're at. Okay. So now we have that one there. Let's reset. And now we see that we want him to create some more. So let us get him to move again. So if he does that 1, 2, 3 times, he's going to be there. Then we can make him turn right again so that he's turning up. And if we put this entire thing into a loop here, and we do this 4 times, he should, I don't know, let's test, have a bit of a square if nothing is in his way. Oops, no, there's a lot in his way. Look at that, I went 1 too far. Okay, but you get the idea. Okay, so I'm not going to continue with this. This is a nice demonstration of what you can do. So you need to obviously count carefully and all of that. I'm trying not to move my mouse pointer around too much because I know it interferes with the sound. So if you are on your own and you're practicing with this, you can go and build something crazy. Right, so let us move on to the next lesson. Okay, so if you hit publish here, or I'm lying, if you hit print here, you can make it a PDF and you can send your creations to me on email. Okay. If you don't know how to do that, you can ask your parents to help you. No, we don't want to watch the video. Okay. So let's read this together and then you guys give me the answer, okay? The cloud is blocking the view. There could be a flower under this cloud. If there is a flower, the bee will need to collect nectar once. Okay, the link again. Sorry. Something that I usually forget, so it's good when you guys remind me. There we go. Okay. There could be a flower under this cloud. If there is a flower, the bee will need to collect nectar once. If there is not a flower, the bee should do nothing. Take a good look at the code below. What do you think will happen after you click run? So let's read through the situations first. The bee will move to the cloud and try to get nectar no matter what. Option B, the bee will move to the cloud and only try to get nectar if there is a flower underneath. Option C, the bee will move to the cloud and then do nothing no matter what. Option D, I don't know. Okay, so we won't be very good coders if we didn't know. So let's have a look at the code and then we can decide. So there it says when run, repeat 3 times, move forward. So when we hit run, he's going to move forward 3 times. So far so good, he's moving to the flower. Now we're saying if at the flower, get nectar. Okay, so the answer there is B. If he is at a flower, he will get nectar. If he is not at a flower, he will not get nectar. Okay, you guys are right. I saw the bees coming in even though I was reading. Gao, do you understand why it's B? I see you wrote A. Do you all understand why that was B? Okay, great. Let's move on. Okay, more clouds. Check underneath every cloud to see if it is hiding a flower before you get nectar. If there is a flower underneath the cloud, the bee will need to get nectar once. Remember, not all clouds hide the same thing. Okay. So I'm going to put this in an easy way for us to understand. The bee needs to move from there to here. Then the bee needs to turn. Then the bee needs to come down here. All the while, when it comes down here, checking to see if there are flowers, and if there are flowers, he needs to do something. If there are not flowers, he does nothing. Okay, so we have 8 blocks to do this. Now, because moving from there to here, turning and moving down, is very easy code for us to write at this stage. We can test it, if you are new, by putting the blue blocks right from the beginning, or we can just go straight into a repeat block. So for the older students that have been with me, if you tell me to use a repeat block first, that's what I'm going to do. But if you are a new student and you tell me to test it first, that's also what I'll do. So you guys guide me. What is the first thing that you think I should put in here? Okay, so there I have someone telling me to repeat. They're saying times 2. That's an interesting thought. Let's see what you guys can come up with. We have 8 blocks. We've used 2 thus far. 1 was given to us. Okay, now they're saying move forward inside. Good. What do we do then? Turn right. Do you want to turn right inside the loop or outside the loop? Or the repeat block? Okay, outside. Right? Then they're saying to put if a flower. Let me see. Okay, there's another repeat. I have 2 students telling me some different things here. So let me just get this properly done. Okay, Rita, I understand what you're saying. This is also times 2 according to D. Then this is what Rita was saying. Put an if flower. And get nectar. Can I run this? Are you guys sure? Okay, I'm going for it. Uh-oh. There's a bit of a problem here. What did we miss? What did we miss? Haha, move forward, yes. We needed to add a move forward in here. Right there. Because what we did now, and this is now a teaching opportunity. So, the first part of the code I'm just leaving as is. Repeat 2 times, move forward and turn right. But I want to show you something, okay? Now we're using 3 blocks. Move forward and repeat times 2. If I do this, I'm still using 3 blocks. So there isn't a wrong or a right way to do this. The amount of blocks are the same. The only time it becomes a challenge is sometimes they limit you to how many move forwards you can use. So if you are limited to 2 move forwards here, then you won't use both of them here because you know you need one at the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to keep it the way you guys had it, but I just wanted to show you. Whenever you have a repeat 2, meaning you do the same thing twice, you're using 2 blocks. So if you put 2 of the same blocks underneath each other, you're still using 2 blocks. Okay? That doesn't make any difference. So here we say repeat 2 times, move forward. So we're moving once and twice. Then we turn right. Now this is important. We put the turn right outside the repeat block. If we put it inside the repeat block, the code is going to say move forward, turn right immediately. So let us see what happens when you do that. You see it's going to move once and then into that problem there where it hits this edge. So this has to be outside so that he moves twice and turns once. Okay? So then we had this in there where we said, okay, if the flower get nectar, and that's right, but we need to remember that he has to actually move to the flowers. So we put this inside that same loop, and now he knows that he's going to move forward, and if there is a flower, he will get the nectar. And look at that. This is the nice thing about this. I want to show you. There are no flowers, but our code still worked because this if statement was false. Okay, it wasn't true. So he just moved forward twice. He just skipped this. But if we reset it, this time there is a flower. So when he found the flower, he stopped and he collected the nectar. Okay, do you all understand that? That was an easy one. So are you ready? Can we move on? Or do you want me to talk on this one again? Okay, many students are saying, yes, we can go. I can see that you guys are excited about coding. I like coding as well, so that's good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Puzzle number 4. Look at this. You can only collect nectar from flowers, but you can check any space to see if there is a flower. If there is a flower under any of these clouds, the bee will need to collect nectar once. Okay. So, now it is becoming interesting. What they are saying is, there might be something else under these clouds. Not necessarily only flowers. There might be a rock, or there might be, we know this game now, so there might be a honeycomb there, because we've seen the honeycombs before. But he can only collect the nectar if there isn't flower. He cannot collect the nectar if there is a honeycomb, because it doesn't have nectar, it has honey. And they are telling us, and this one is important, if there is a flower, he will only have to collect nectar one time. So meaning in this puzzle, they are not going to give us a place where he needs to collect nectar more than once. We have 5 blocks to do this. So what do you guys think should we do? You tell me. Okay, put a loop 7 times. Now, I don't mind you starting with the repeat block because this is easy code to write, okay? It's a straight line. Okay, so now we have a bit of a contrast here. D is saying if flower, Rita is saying forward. You guys need to decide. Tell me, which one do I use? Do I put a move forward or do I put if flower? Forward. Okay, so the vote has gone and we have decided move forward is the way to go. What next? Okay, if flower and get nectar. I didn't give any input here, so I hope that you guys are right. Let's see. Run. Any day now. What's happening here? Why do you not want to run? There we go. And look at that. Our code has worked. I want to show you this one more time. So what happened here? We told him to move forward 7 times. And every time he moves forward to check if there is a flower. And if he did find a flower, meaning this if statement is true, he gets nectar. Okay, I do see I have a question here in the chat box that I don't know how to answer. Sir, the section on my PC says I need your section code. What is the section code? That's very interesting. I don't know. Divu, I've never had this question before. I'm going to give you the link one more time. Try to just open it again in another browser perhaps. Okay. Okay, let's just carry on here. So we told him to move forward 7 times, and if there's a flower, to get nectar. And if there's not a flower, then the code will just skip this if statement and just go back to the previous action block, because it's in a loop. If it wasn't in a loop, it would have gone to the action blocks that were underneath that. Now this can change. Okay, good. This can change from time to time. And if we run it again, you'll see, come on. Now there are 2 flowers on a different spot. But our code still works. And the reason is we are not telling the code where the flowers are. We are telling the code to check for the flowers. And then if it is true, it does something. Okay, do you guys understand? I quickly want to run through the next one. And we will review that one obviously tomorrow. So I like to end off with a new challenge to leave you guys with something to think of. I have 1 yes, and 2 yeses, and 3 yeses. Good. Okay, so in this puzzle we know that every flower has exactly 1 nectar, but the flowers aren't spaced evenly. Get all of the nectar using as few blocks as possible. And we only have 1 get nectar. So what I want to tell you here is it is going to be exactly the same as the previous one. You start with a repeat. Okay, you guys need to tell me though. 7 times. Move forward. A flower. Get nectar. And run. Now I quickly want to draw your attention to something. This code and the previous code is exactly the same. But the problem that we had in the play area is different. The way we used to code before we had if blocks or if statements, we had to tell the bee exactly on which space what it is supposed to do. So we would have told the bee here, move 1 time, get nectar, move 3 times, then get nectar, move 2 times, get nectar, move 1 time, get nectar. But because of the power of the if block, now we don't have to do that. Now we can tell him, check each block as you're going. So move 7 times, everywhere you go, check. And if this is there, then you do something. If this is not there, then just move past. Now this helps because these are not evenly spaced. So if we had to put this, we wouldn't have been able to repeat this without an if block there. We would have had to write the code out individually. And we would have used probably about 15 to 18 blocks of code to do that. But now we can repeat it because we have this if statement. The same is happening for the previous problem that we had, where this was blocked, so we don't know what is underneath. The same thing and the same idea applies there. The one that is blocked, actually, we would not be able to code that at all if we didn't have an if block. Okay, so I'm quickly going to jump back. I'm out of time here. Very, very, very quickly. Try to do this. Okay. So please send me your questions, or if you want to share those awesome examples of what you guys will be making at the end of the Minecraft lesson to this email address, you can do that. I would appreciate that. And then tomorrow we are going to continue And you can see I have lesson 6 in here again. And the reason is that I was afraid that we wouldn't get through everything today. So I have lessons puzzle 6 again for tomorrow. So we will look at that tomorrow then. If you have any friends that want to get into coding, please invite them to come and join us, and we can have a lot of fun together and we learn some new things. I learn new things, you learn new things, and we're all happy. Right, follow us at these social media handles. Remember to use those hashtags, and have a great day. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye-bye.